This is episode 707, and I'm Greg Swanson. Today we're going to be talking about mastering resilience. Now, I know I've been covering resilience over the past several podcasts, and that's because it's important. It's part of mental strength, it's part of how we succeed, and we really want to dive into resilience. What makes it up? How do we master it? So that's why I've been covering resilience quite often, because without resilience, we'll cave in underneath the slightest little bit of pressure. So today we're going to be talking about mastering resilience. Right? So, are you searching for the skills to navigate life's toughest challenge? I would presume so if you're listening to this podcast. Do you want to take control of your thoughts, actions in life with confidence and clarity? Hello, who would not want that? I mean, isn't that what we're all looking for at some level? So here's the truth. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's a skill that can be learned and cultivated and mastered. And that's the good thing. Because if it was just we were born with this, then some of us would be SOL, some of us would be in great shape. But it's not. It's something that can be developed. And that's pretty much the overall theme of my coaching, Warrior Mind Coaching, the Warrior Mind podcast, is developing that mental strength, which gives way to resilience. So mastering resilience means approaching life's peaks and valleys with a mindset that propels you forward, even in the face of adversity. Yes, when we hit our life's peaks, we will hit some adversity, and then we go to the valleys, we come back and forth, like climbing a mountain, right? You go up, you come down, you go up, you come down. But adversity is going to be there no matter what. It's how we see it and then how well we develop the resilience to push through it. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about growing through what you go through. There's post-traumatic growth phenomenon out there. So resilience means you're facing an obstacle. Resilience means that you face that obstacle and make it through. Resilience means that you face an obstacle, make it through, and you grow because of it. And now the next time you face that exact same obstacle, it'll be a piece of cake. If you think back, 5 years, what you went through 5 years ago, today you'd be like, that's easy, piece of cake. That's what resilience does for us. It helps us build up this not complacence, but we build up an immunity to certain obstacles, and as we face greater and greater obstacles, we keep increasing that immunity. So what we want to do is understand the principles of resilience in this podcast. We want to think of resilience as your ability to transform adversity into opportunity, regardless of what that adversity is. So let's begin with this, right? So one aspect is strengthening emotional regulation skills. That means you own your choices. If you made a choice to drive on an icy road and got in an accident, that's your choice. Yes, the road is there, but it was your choice to drive. If you chose to sleep in instead of going to the gym and you're overweight, you have to own those choices. It's really challenging sometimes to admit, the victim complains, blames, and justifies, where the warrior owns the choices. So we want to own our choices. And this is probably out of everything out there that I see. When you start to own your choices, you then know you have control over your choices. And within mental strength, one of the C's is control. We give up control when we play the victim. We take back control when we own our choices. So then after we own them, we want to reframe our perspective. Like, it's raining outside, I can't do anything. Because it's raining, I can push myself to build my resilience. So we want to reframe, and it's just not, I got in an accident, that means good things are going to happen. No, we want to reframe it as to some sort of a benefit, if possible, or at least, hey, I got an accident, but at least I didn't get injured, right? I got in an accident, but how many people would love to have a car to be able to get into an accident, right? We want to reframe it in those type of perspectives. Practice mindfulness. If you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, there's mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness is be here now. You can be mindful when you're eating. You can be mindful when you're studying. You can be mindful when you're talking to somebody. So mindfulness is not something you set aside to practice. Mindfulness is ongoing every single day. You can remind yourself with an alarm that, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be mindful, regardless of what you're doing. You could be on a Zoom call, and you could be mindful by listening very specifically to what's being said, the tone, the cadence, how is it making you feel, being notice of all of those things. So again, it doesn't have to be some walking in the forest and hearing the birds chirp. You can practice mindfulness anywhere. And then you want to seek joy, right? Joy is out there. Joy is there. And when we reframe our perspective, it's a closer way of seeking joy. So we want to seek joy because this builds resilience, right? If we don't have joy and we get into a lousy attitude and stinking thinking, our resilience is going to falter. But when we can seek joy, it's going to bolster our resilience. So now the next step here is taking responsibility. It kind of goes back to the first one is owning your choices, but now this is taking responsibility after you own your choice. And that says we need to learn from our mistakes. And learning is something positive and moves you forward. It's not something negative, like I'll never do that again. That's not a learning, that's quitting. It's like, oh, when I do this again, then I will approach it in this manner. That's learning from mistakes. Again, learning is not, I'll never do that again. It helps us move forward. We want to get curious. So if we do have a mistake or if we do have a setback, I'm curious as to how that happened. Or if we are after something and we don't get the result we want, but somebody else did, I'm curious as to how they got that result different than the result I got. So when we can start looking at things through curiosity, we will then be able to get questions, because when we ask curious questions, our unconscious mind goes to work and starts to find the answers for us. So there are going to be those times where you're going to lose your temper. You're going to say something you didn't mean to say. You're going to do something you didn't mean to do, because when that anger takes over, it basically blocks out all of our thinking. But we want to take responsibility, and we want to apologize with grace. We're not going to go, yeah, I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, I lost my temper. It wasn't a good thing. I apologize. Or I did something wrong and I apologize, right? We just want to apologize with grace. And I've written several newsletters and blog posts about not apologizing, and that is not apologizing when you really didn't do anything wrong or hurt someone. But when that does happen, you want to apologize with grace. And if somebody does something to you, you want to release resentment. It's like if they do something and you get this resentful, I'm going to get back at them, and that doesn't help. That doesn't help with resilience. As a matter of fact, it tears away at it. So you want to release that resentment. And there's actually a great book out there called Radical Forgiveness that can help in releasing that resentment. So now the next thing we want to look at is build a strong community. That's invest in your relationships. I know that when COVID came and people are still using that as a flippant excuse. Well, COVID came and I lost all my friends and I lost this one. No, you just didn't reach out during COVID. You didn't make the effort. It's not you lost your friends, you let them go. So now we want to invest in that relationship. We want to reach out, even if they're cross country, reach out with a video, reach out, maybe send them a wonderful letter in the mail. How powerful would that be, right? You have a friend you haven't seen for a while and you wanted to reach out, but you reach out by mail. Let me ask you, when's the last time you got a letter from a friend in the mail? And I would venture to say probably 4 or 5 years. But think about how you would feel if a friend you haven't heard from in a while sent you a letter just to catch up, as opposed to a text and an email, but a letter because they took time to write it out. They took time to address it. They took time to put a stamp on it. That's investing in relationships, right? And that means you make an effort. Again, writing, I'm not saying you have to do it all the time, but writing a letter takes more effort than sending a quick text. Hey, thinking about you. How are you? And if you haven't seen somebody in 6 months, that might not be the best way to reach out. That's making zero effort, right? But we want to make an effort because people know when you're making time for them as opposed to having downtime. Now, there are times, right, when we want to reach out if we're commuting, if we have a long commute. Yes, take advantage of that time, reach out to some friends. But then once you stop your commute, we don't want to say, oh, during my commute time, I only reach out to my friends and family. No, those are times to check in with some good friends that you just talk to every day and see how it's going. That doesn't mean you stop after that's over. So we want to make that effort. And then when things go challenging, when you are facing that obstacle, you want to be able to lean on your network, and your network will support you as much as you reached out and invested in them. So you can't expect your network to support you if you haven't reached out, offered assistance, helped them, stayed in touch. So you want to be able to lean on your network to help you through any adversities that come along. So then we want to be able to cultivate a strong relationship with yourself. You could have the great friends, but if you suck with yourself, that's not going to work too well. So you want to prioritize self-care, and that could be cutting out sugar, eating healthier, working out, getting massages, getting time to read, having a do not disturb on your phone so that you take care of yourself. You don't have to leave, having your calendar from a work perspective wide open is like having your door open at your home, saying anybody can come in and sit down on the couch. No, you want to prioritize your self-care at work as well as at home, and that means managing your calendar as well. And then you want to reframe that negative self-talk that comes up, right? I can't do this. I'm too old. I'm too young. That person stinks. That person sucks. My car stinks. All of that stinking thinking you just want to reverse. And all of these things I'm going through is why it's important to have a coach, whether it's me or someone else, because we get so caught up in negative self-talk, we don't think it's negative self-talk anymore. It's just, we think it's just the way it is. And when you can communicate with a coach, they can point out that and help you reframe that negative self-talk. And also, right, we want to give ourselves permission to rest, whether that's laying on the couch and falling asleep to an old movie, whether that's taking naps in the afternoon, whether that's just going and taking a walk in the woods because it is forest. Whatever that is, we want to give ourselves permission to rest. Right? We want to embrace this power of exercise, and I can't overemphasize how important exercise is. Whether it's walking, rollerblading, skateboarding, swimming, lifting weights, anything, get the body moving. And if you haven't done anything, start where you are. And set achievable goals and celebrate your progress. For instance, if you haven't done anything, if you've only been doing 2,000 steps a day, shoot for 2,500. Start from where you are. That's an achievable goal. That could be walking around your kitchen counter 10 more times than you normally do to get those extra 500 steps. Set those achievable goals. When you hit them, celebrate. And then use Kaizen to increase it. So if you're at 2,000 steps, you go to 2,500, you go to 3,000, you go to 3,500. This doesn't have to be in a day, but it could be, okay, 2,500 this week, 3,000 next week, 3,500, and you celebrate and you start where you are. But exercise helps so much. We get those feel-good hormones that get released in the brain, so we feel good about ourselves. And this is part of is self-care, right, is exercise. So whatever you do something, move, yoga, Zumba, cellular-size, where you jump on a trampoline, anything, just get moving. And challenge yourself to grow, right? This is that challenge part is the second C in mental strength, right? You want to set bold goals. Yes, so we'll go back to the example of walking. You're doing 2,000. Say I'm going to do 5,000. That's a bold goal. And then you do 5,000, but you hit 3,000 and you surpass your 2,500. So you may not hit it, but you want to set those bold goals because we usually accomplish what we set our goal for. And we usually undersell ourselves. We go, well, I'm doing 2,000 steps a day. Maybe I'll do 2,010. Well, that's going to be pretty easy. It's not going to push you. So we want to push it and know it's okay if we miss that goal. We just reset again for the next month and the next month. And then this is where these bold goals, we want to let your values guide you. If you don't know what your values are, you can't make them up. You can't have a list. Well, my value is 1, 2, 3, because they're so unconscious. They're hidden in our unconscious. We can kind of notice what our values are by where our attention goes every day and what we do every day. But there's a couple of really good value assessments online, or a coach can help you with it. But once you know your values, then your growth can come by what you value. If you value, let's say, health and fitness a little bit more than a career, it doesn't mean that you're going to bomb on the career, but it means, hey, let's take care of ourselves so we can then bring our best self to work so that we can accelerate our progress at work as well. So that's where our values need to guide you, and you want to, empower yourself through action. Action is so powerful. Action is that commitment. So you have an idea, you say you're going to do something. It doesn't even need to be exercise. Oh, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to start, a business. And you don't take action, that disempowers you. You'll believe eventually that you're lying to yourself. So whatever it is, you want to take action, and that empowers you. It's like, hey, I took action. I got a result I didn't like, so let me take a different action. But you will never know if you're doing the right thing or not if you don't take action. So action is absolutely essential. And all of this, again, remember, is to master resilience, because in every one of these steps I'm going through, you are going to find some obstacles. They will be smaller than others and greater than others. So, the path to mastering resilience. Let's go through a summary, right? It isn't a destination. It's a lifelong journey. You want to choose to see adversity as a teacher rather than an obstacle. Take responsibility for your actions while forgiving yourself for any missteps. Build a community that uplifts and supports you. Honor your emotions while remaining grounded in the present moment, and prioritize your well-being through self-care, exercise, and personal growth. And then embracing challenges as opportunities to discover your strength. Life is not merely surviving, it's about thriving, and that's what resilience is about. Mastering resilience empowers you to live with purpose, adapt to change, and emerge stronger from every single storm. Remember, resilience is a skill you can develop. Step into your power and start mastering resilience. You put the time in to either read the show notes or watch the video or listen to the audio on resilience. So start taking action and do this. If you're ready to take control of your life and reach new heights, join me for a breakthrough session and unlock your full potential. You'll find out how to get that breakthrough session on my website, which I'll go over here in a second. Together with this breakthrough session, we'll build a foundation that empowers you to overcome anything life throws your way. So if you want to see the show notes and find out about the breakthrough session, please visit warriormindcoach.com. While you're there, you'll find other blog posts, other podcasts, and other useful information. And since you'll be on the internet, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest under Warrior Mind Coach.